If you want to induce yourself like with something that you can grow for the purpose of spiritual enhancement, for recreation, or for a good time while you're having sex, well, so be it. And it's government. No one in the government has a right to say what you're going to do, what's your mind. But I'll tell you something, we've come a long way. That's why we're trying to make a case for a free market in drugs. We know people got to be protected from certain drugs, but when it comes to marijuana and other drugs, let me tell you, psychedelic mushrooms, yeah, baby, bring it on. And don't tell me no, or don't put me in prison because I want to put something inside of myself that's going to bring me closer to my creator. I say, ready!
You know, and you don't believe that this war on drugs is making people criminals. Look at Prohibition of the 20s. What did that do? It created a black market. What was the positive outcomes of Prohibition? I'm not sure if there was any positive outcomes. I know it started organized crime.
Learn something, shut the TV off, and stop talking crap about sports that mean nothing 20 years from now. Anyway, I want to recommend it to you folks highly. We always tell you to go online and you can check it out for free. You don't got to spend 25 bucks like I did to get the authoritative historical record of cannabis and the conspiracy against marijuana and how hemp can save the world. Jack Herer spent, I don't know, I think it was 17 years researching hemp, the fibers, and what can be done. He reinstituted some things that were taken out of the Library of Congress because those controllers don't want us to know what's going on, that we have green gold right here, and that any of us can grow it, and we don't have to be dependent on Standard Oil, so that, you know, we can grow our own biofuel. But anyway, the Emperor wears no clothes, folks, I gotta tell you. It has everything that we're gonna be talking about and more in. So please go online and check out the $100,000 challenge to the world to prove Jack wrong about what he says in here. And in here he says many things. Buzzy, what else you got on your mind?
You know, I wanted to just throw out there, you know, on several occasions, back in 1944, you know, Governor LaGuardia of New York City got a committee, LaGuardia's Committee on Marijuana, to study the effects of marijuana, to prove for Asslinger how bad it was. Well, guess what that report said? Did no harm. Back under Nixon's
I have a quote, okay? LaGuardia marijuana report that went on from 38 to 44, as Buzz was saying, it refuted the argument by reporting that marijuana caused no violence at all and citing other positive results. Harry Anslinger, in public, triad after triad, denounced the mayor and the New York Academy of Medicine and the doctors who researched the report. Bullcorn!
Yeah, Richard Nixon, too, had his own committee research the harmful effects of the dangerous effects of marijuana and other illegal drugs, too, and their report recommended legalizing it. He burned it. Right. He didn't even read it. When he heard that's what it said, he wanted nothing to do with it because he, too, is another Bohemian Grove crony. We've showed you pictures of that on Food for Thought. You know, they were back there, both Reagan, Nixon, and Eisenhower. They were all good old buddies hanging out there, Bohemian Grove, being coerced, being told this is what it's going to be. Because remember, folks, those that you see in front of the camera are not those in control. Remember, you can make a difference.
That's right. So do it! So we'll be mixing it up quite well for you and open up your mind to the conspiracy against God's favorite plant on the planet, marijuana, cannabis, hemp. You know, we're going to go over the diverse uses throughout history and how different countries are employing growing hemp since '93, I believe. Britain's been growing it once Britain started growing it, and Germany started growing it, and then basically,
etc.
Yeah. And so where that leads us to is right now. You know, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Well, let me tell you something. Since 1937, no one has introduced an industrial farming hemp initiative except one man, and his name is, who's that guy? Mr. Ron Paul. And he just happens to be running for president in 2008. And in 2005 and 2007, he put forth hemp initiatives to bring back hemp farming in this country. You know why? Because he's a man who knows what he's talking about, not like those rest of those who are controlled by the controllers. Okay, folks? So what we want you to do is understand who this guy is, because you know why? He also called for the end on the war on drugs. And you know what? That's why we're here. We got to wind it down because we've got to go. So,
and what did George Washington have to say about the cannabis hemp?
He said, sow the seed and sow it more abundantly. Indeed, folks, I want you to stop bitch and start a revolution. From the Department of Freedom, it's me, Silly Whack Willie, Buzzy Zip Whack Jones next week. Auntie Lola, yeah. Auntie Lola's been with us for a long time as we've been pursuing freedom and ideas on liberty. Let me tell you, we were over at Central Connecticut State University doing radio. Auntie Lo was out there doing Stop Bitchin', Start a Revolution, and our other programs that we had going. Buzzy had a program, Dr. Don had a program, and Ella's even running her own show. Now, what was your show on over there?
Well, it was just a one-time thing. It wasn't very long, but it was called Altered States, basically dealing with consciousness, thinking outside the box and being more of who you're supposed to be. That's as much as really I could say about it, but it was a lot of fun, definitely, and that's what it's about.
Absolutely. Educating ourselves and those around us so that we don't have to so we don't have to tolerate from those politicians out there what we don't tolerate in our family and our friends. Folks, Buzzy Zipwhack, he puts his mind into what he's trying to understand. And let me tell you, we take a lot of effort as volunteers. This is fun as well as educational. Buzzy, tell them about our sister program and, Ed Whitney.
Ed Whitney, yep, that's right. Food for Thought, Wednesday nights, 9 o'clock on Nutmeg TV. Last year we introduced a friend of ours, Ed Whitney. He's the author of The Controllers, Secret Rulers of the World. This is really quite a very informative and interesting book. It goes into a lot of different avenues of who's running and pulling the strings, really.
Chronological order.
Chronological history. And I want to read the introduction of this book, because I haven't read the whole thing, I'm embarrassed to say, and I think this really goes into why we're here, and this is one of the reasons. And it says, a number of American writers have described a vast array of crimes which were committed by the government of a modern nation. We use agents, provocateur, assassinations, asset forfeitures, blackmail, bribery, brutality, burglary, censorship, clandestine activities, cover-ups, deceptions, disinformation, drug trafficking, entrapment, espionage, false identity, forgery, fraud, human subject experiments, kidnapping, killing, lies, mass arrest, money laundering, news media manipulation, obstruction of justice, prostitution, sabotage, sexual entrancement, smuggling, spies, surveillance, subversion, terrorist, torture, voter fraud, weapons trading, wiretapping, and many more.
Wow.
And it goes on, right? To what nation were these writers referring? The Soviet Union, Russia, Nazi Germany, China, Israel, Iraq, Iran? It could have been any of these, of course, but unfortunately they were writing about the United States of America. And that's why we're here, and that's why we introduced Ed Whitney to us, just to show that we are not alone in this fight. And this particular program here, Stop Bitchin', Start a Revolution, is exposing one of the symptoms of the disease. And this one's called the War on Drugs. And that one is really a very strong disease because it attacks the heartland of America.
If George Washington was alive today, okay, and he was doing on his farm today what he was doing back in his day, well, guess what? That man would be in prison. And if Thomas Jefferson was alive, doing on his farm today what he was doing on his farm back in the day, he too would be in prison. And my ears perked right up, and I said to my friends right here, I said, see, I gotta go. And I ran down, they were having a hemp rally. I think it was the Libertarian Party that was putting it on. And I didn't even know what a libertarian was at that point. I took a little political test and found out, hey, I'm a libertarian. Didn't even know what it was. George Washington said in 1794, make the most of the hemp seed and sow it everywhere. John Adams said, we shall want a world of hemp more for our own personal consumption. Thomas Jefferson in 1791 said, folks, hemp is of first necessity to the wealth and protection of a country. Now, what's going on? Senator Guy Gillette in 1944 said there are interests that do not want their markets usurped by the type of hemp industry that we have been trying to develop. Now, come on, let's just give them a few things. Food for thought, you might say, Buzz, of...
Yep, that's right. Back in, what was it, 1637, I think it was, up until like probably the Civil War, you could use hemp to pay taxes.
Yes, indeed. Refusing to grow hemp in America during the 17th and 18th century, folks, was against the law. You could be jailed in Virginia for refusing to grow hemp. Okay, so here's our founding fathers telling you.
This is a test of the emergency bong-hit system. This is only a test.
Virus, bad as hell! I'm not going to take this anymore!
This is a test of the emergency bong-hit system. The bong hitters in your area, in voluntary defiance of federal, state, and local authorities, have developed this system to keep you informed in the event of a bong hit emergency. If this had been an actual emergency, the attention signal you just heard would have been followed by official supply information, police scanner news, and emergency bong hitting instructions. This concludes this test of the emergency bong hit system.
Quit playing games with God. Stay tuned for more of marijuana's march through history.